The crystal chandeliers sparkled like diamonds above 300 wedding guests, but for Amara Okafor, they felt like spotlights exposing every secret she'd buried for 7 years. Until her cousin grabbed the microphone and announced to the world that her daughter had no father, that she was a liar, a disgrace. And that's when the billionaire CEO stood up and changed everything. Welcome to K-Smart Mythic Tales, where we bring you the most gripping African family dramas that will leave you breathless. Thank you for your incredible support. You are the reason we keep bringing these powerful stories to life. Before we dive into the story, kindly subscribe, drop a comment below and tell us where you are watching from. Now let's get into this explosive story. The crystal chandeliers of the Grand Meridian Hotel in Lagos cast a golden glow over the wedding reception, but Amara Okafor felt only darkness closing in. Her hands trembled as she clutched her 6-year-old daughter Chioma's small fingers, trying to shield the child's ears from the venomous words echoing through the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, her cousin Ngozi's voice dripped with false sweetness from the stage. Before we toast the bride and groom, I think everyone should know the truth about who's been sitting at the family table. Ngozi's eyes locked onto Amara with predatory satisfaction. Our dear Amara here. The one who always acts so proper, so dignified. She's not the respectable widow she pretends to be. The music stopped. 300 guests turned to stare. Amara's heart hammered against her ribs. No. Not here. Not now. Not in front of Chioma. She was never married. Ngozi announced triumphantly, holding up her phone. I have the proof right here. Birth certificate, hospital records, everything. There is no dead husband. There never was. She got pregnant by some man who abandoned her, and she's been lying to this family for 7 years. Gasps rippled through the crowd like wildfire. Amara felt the room tilt. Chioma tugged at her mother's coral-colored lace dress, confused tears forming in her innocent eyes. Mama, what is she saying? Before Amara could respond, her Aunt Chinyu stood up from the family table, her face twisted with disgust. I knew it. I always knew something was wrong with that girl. To think we let her into our home, fed her, helped her, and she's been deceiving us all along. Amara's uncle Emeka pointed an accusing finger. You have brought shame upon this family. Our family name. That's enough. The deep, commanding voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Every head turned toward the entrance where a man stood, tall and imposing in a perfectly tailored navy suit. Amara recognized him immediately. Chukwuemeka Adebayo, the billionaire CEO whose face graced business magazines across West Africa. He was a distant friend of the groom, someone she'd noticed earlier but never imagined would speak, much less speak for her. He strode through the crowd with quiet authority, his presence demanding silence. When he reached Amara's table, he extended his hand to help her stand. Mr. Adebayo, Ngozi stammered from the stage, suddenly uncertain. This is a family matter. And family matters should be handled with dignity and privacy, not as entertainment, Chukwuemeka replied coolly. His hand remained steady as Amara shakily accepted it, rising to her feet. Chioma clung to her mother's dress. He turned to address the room. I've known Amara Okafor for exactly 3 hours, since this reception began. In that time, I've watched her help the catering staff when they were overwhelmed, console a crying flower girl who missed her parents, and tend to an elderly guest who needed medication. Whatever her past holds, I see before me a woman of character, grace, and strength. Aunt Chinyu sputtered. But she lied to us. She. Did any of you ever simply ask her? Chukwuemeka's question hung in the air. Or did you just assume, judge, and condemn? Amara couldn't breathe. Why was this stranger defending her? What did he want? Chukwuemeka looked down at her, something unreadable flickering in his dark eyes. Miss Okafor, if you'd permit me, my driver is outside. I'd be honored to ensure you and your daughter get home safely. The room erupted in whispers. Amara caught Ngozi's stunned expression, saw her uncle's reddening face, felt the weight of hundreds of curious, judging eyes. Thank you, she whispered, finding her voice. We would appreciate that. As they walked toward the exit, Chioma between them, Amara heard Aunt Chinyu's shrill voice. This isn't over. You think running away with some rich man will erase your shame? Outside, the cool Lagos night air hit Amara's face. She was shaking uncontrollably now, the adrenaline draining away, leaving only humiliation and fear. A sleek black Mercedes waited at the curb. Chukwuemeka opened the door for them. As Amara settled Chioma inside, He leaned close and spoke quietly, meant only for her ears. I meant what I said in there. Every word. He paused. But I should tell you, I didn't defend you out of simple kindness. Amara's blood ran cold. Then why? His expression was serious, almost calculating. Because 7 years ago, I knew a young woman who worked as a receptionist at my first company. She was brilliant, kind, and had dreams of becoming an architect. Then one day, she disappeared without a trace. His eyes held hers. Her name was Amara Okafor. The world tilted again. He knew. He knew everything. We need to talk, he said quietly. But not tonight. Tomorrow, my office. 2 o'clock. There's something you need to know about why you had to run, and who's been looking for you all these years. He closed the car door before she could respond. As the Mercedes pulled away from the hotel, Amara watched Chukwuemeka's figure recede in the side mirror, her mind racing with 1,000 questions. Who had been looking for her? What did he know about that night 7 years ago? The night that had destroyed everything. And why did she feel that accepting his help might be the most dangerous decision she'd ever make? Chioma leaned against her, already dozing. Amara stroked her daughter's braided hair and whispered, "Everything's going to be all right, baby." But as they drove through Lagos's glittering streets, Amara knew that nothing would ever be all right again. The truth she'd buried was clawing its way to the surface, and somewhere in this city, someone who'd tried to destroy her once before was about to discover she was still alive. What would you do if your past was exposed in front of everyone? Hit like if you've ever been judged unfairly, and comment where you're watching from. What do you think happens next? Comment below. Amara sat in the back of the Mercedes, Chioma sleeping peacefully against her shoulder, but her mind had traveled 7 years into the past, to the night everything changed. She'd been 22 years old, working as a receptionist at Adebayo Enterprises' newly opened Lagos branch. The job had been her lifeline, her escape from the suffocating expectations of her family in Enugu. She'd been studying architecture through correspondence courses, saving every naira for the future she'd dreamed of building. Then she'd met him. Not Chukwuemeka, his younger brother, Olyamide. Olyamide Adebayo had been charming, devastatingly handsome, and attentive in ways that had made Amara's cautious heart bloom open like a flower in rain. He'd courted her with poetry, surprise lunches, and promises of a future together. When he'd proposed after 6 months, she'd said yes without hesitation, believing in the fairy tale he'd spun around them. "Mama." Chioma stirred slightly. "Are we home?" "Almost, my love," Amara whispered, though they were still 15 minutes from their small 2-bedroom apartment in Surulere. The modest neighborhood was worlds away from the luxurious wedding venue, but it was theirs, earned through Amara's work as a freelance graphic designer and the small sewing business she ran from home. As the car glided through the streets, Amara's memories pulled her deeper into the past. She remembered the engagement party Olyamide had thrown, an intimate gathering at his penthouse apartment. She'd worn a simple yellow dress, her natural hair styled in twists, feeling like Cinderella at the ball. That night, she discovered she was pregnant. She'd told Olyamide in the quiet of his bedroom, her hands shaking as she held the positive test. She'd expected shock, maybe concern about timing, but not the cold mask that had slipped over his handsome features. "You need to get rid of it." Those 5 words had shattered her world. "What?" "Olyamide, we're engaged." "Are we?" He'd laughed then, cruel and dismissive. "Amara, you're a sweet girl, but did you actually think this was real? I'm an Adebayo. My family expects me to marry someone of our class, our standing. You were a pleasant distraction." The pain of that memory still felt like a knife between her ribs. She'd fled his apartment in tears, but worse had been waiting. 2 days later, she'd arrived at work to find security barring her entry. Her supervisor had handed her a termination letter, inappropriate conduct with senior management family members. The lies Olyamide had spread had been vicious. He'd told people she'd been obsessed with him, that she'd fabricated the relationship, that she'd tried to trap him with a fake pregnancy. Without resources or allies, Amara had been powerless to fight back. Her family in Enugu had believed the rumors. When she'd called her father, begging for help, for a place to stay, he'd told her never to contact them again, that she'd brought disgrace upon their name. Homeless, pregnant, and alone, Amara had done the only thing she could. She'd created a new identity. She'd moved to a different part of Lagos, created documents claiming she was a young widow, and built a life from nothing. The car slowed, pulling Amara from her painful reverie. They'd arrived at her apartment building, a modest 5-story structure with peeling paint but good neighbors. The driver, a professional older gentleman who'd remained respectfully silent throughout the journey, opened their door. "Miss Okafor, Mr. Adebayo instructed me to wait and ensure you get inside safely." "Thank you," Amara said quietly, gathering a drowsy Chioma into her arms. Her daughter was getting too big to carry, but tonight, Amara needed to hold her close. As she climbed the stairs to their third-floor apartment, she nodded to Mama Ekpo, their neighbor, who sat outside her door shelling groundnuts. "Late night, Amara?" the older woman called. "I heard you went to your cousin's wedding." Word traveled fast. "Yes, Mama. It was eventful." Mama Ekpo's knowing eyes studied her. "People talking nonsense again? When do they not?" Amara tried to smile, but it trembled at the edges. Inside their small apartment, Amara carried Chioma to their shared bedroom. They couldn't afford separate rooms yet, and gently changed her daughter into pajamas. Chioma barely stirred, exhausted from the evening's emotions she couldn't fully understand. Amara tucked her in, kissing her forehead. "I will protect you from everything," she whispered. "Always." But as she retreated to their tiny living room, collapsing onto the worn sofa her neighbor had given her 2 years ago, Amara felt the weight of impossibility pressing down. How could she protect Chioma from the truth? From the judgment that would only intensify now? From the family that had already disowned them? Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Adebayo Enterprises, Victoria Island. Top floor. Security will be expecting you. Chukwuemeka." Another message followed immediately. "I know you're afraid. I know you have questions. But Amara, you need to know that Alyamide is back in Lagos. And he's getting married in 3 weeks." Amara's hands began to shake. Alyamide. After 7 years, the man who destroyed her life was back. A third message appeared. His fiancée is Zainab Hassan, Senator Hassan's daughter. The wedding is being called the event of the decade. And there's something else. Something about Chioma that you need to know. Something Alyamide doesn't know but has the right to discover. "Tomorrow, I'll explain everything." Amara's phone slipped from her fingers, clattering onto the floor. Chioma. What about Chioma? What could Chukwuemeka possibly know about her daughter that she didn't? She retrieved her phone with trembling hands and typed. "What do you mean? What about my daughter?" The response was immediate. Not over text. "Tomorrow. Trust me, Amara. After 7 years of silence, you deserve to know the whole truth. And so does your daughter." Amara stared at the screen until the words blurred. Trust him? She didn't even know him. Not really. But he'd defended her tonight when no one else would. He'd known her from before, remembered her when everyone else had been eager to forget. She walked to her bedroom door, watching Chioma sleep peacefully, her small chest rising and falling with innocent breath. Her daughter, who'd asked just last week why she didn't have a daddy like the other children at school. Her daughter, who she'd told a beautiful lie about a father who'd been a hero, who'd loved them, who'd died saving others. What truth was Chukwuemeka about to reveal? And would it destroy the fragile peace Amara had fought so hard to build? Through the thin apartment walls, she heard Mama Ekpo's television. A late-night news program. The anchor's voice filtered through. Billionaire CEO Chukwuemeka Adebayo announced a major real estate development project that will transform. Amara closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she would walk into the lion's den. Into the world that had chewed her up and spit her out 7 years ago. She would face whatever truth awaited, because she had no choice. But as she finally lay down beside her daughter, one thought kept circling through her mind. If Alyamide was getting married, why did Chukwuemeka seem to think it mattered to her? And what secret about Chioma had been hidden all these years? What do you think Chukwuemeka knows? Comment below. The Adebayo Enterprises tower pierced the Lagos skyline like a monument to ambition. Amara stood before its gleaming glass entrance at 1:45 p.m. Her reflection staring back. A woman in a modest blue dress she'd made herself, clutching a worn leather purse, about to enter a world that had once crushed her. Miss Okafor? A security guard approached, professional and courteous. Mr. Adebayo is expecting you. Please, follow me. The elevator rose so smoothly it felt like flying. Amara watched the Lego sprawl unfold beneath her, the chaotic beauty of a city that had been both her prison and her salvation. Chioma was with Mama Ekpo, safely distracted with jollof rice and cartoons, unaware her mother was about to unearth buried secrets. The top floor was elegant but understated. African art on cream walls, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the ocean in the distance. A receptionist smiled warmly and gestured to massive mahogany doors. "Mr. Adebayo is waiting inside." Amara's hand hesitated on the handle. "This is it. Whatever comes, you face it." Chukwuemeka stood by the window, his back to her, phone pressed to his ear. "No, tell Senator Hassan we'll discuss the port development next week. I have an important meeting." He ended the call and turned, his expression softening when he saw her. "Amara, thank you for coming. Please sit." His office was as impressive as the man himself. Success built from intelligence and vision, not just inheritance. Amara perched on the edge of a leather chair, every muscle tense. Chukwuemeka sat across from her, elbows on his knees, his gaze direct but kind. "I'm going to tell you things that will be difficult to hear. But first, I need you to understand something. I'm not your enemy. I never was. Then why did you let them fire me? 7 years ago, when Alyamide destroyed my reputation. You owned that company. You had the power to stop it." Pain flickered across his face. "I didn't know. I was in Dubai for 3 months, opening our Middle East office. By the time I returned and discovered what had happened, you'd vanished. I searched for you, Amara. 4 months. Every contact I had, every investigator, you disappeared completely. Because I had to survive." Her voice cracked. "Because your brother made sure no one would believe me. No one would hire me. Because I was carrying his child and had nowhere to go." "I know." Chukwuemeka's jaw tightened. "And I need you to know that when I found out what Alyamide did, the lies he told, the way he used his position to hurt you, I cut him out of the company. Out of my life. We haven't spoken in 6 years." Amara blinked, stunned. You're not close? Blood doesn't excuse cruelty." He stood, retrieving a folder from his desk. "But that's not what you're here to learn. There's something about Chioma, something I discovered 3 months ago while reviewing old company records. A secret that changes everything." He handed her the folder. Amara's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were medical records, DNA test results, and a photograph she'd never seen before, of Alyamide as a child, standing next to a woman who looked exactly like Chioma. "What is this?" "That's Alyamide's mother, my stepmother. She died when he was 8. Chukwuemeka's voice was gentle but firm. "Look at the resemblance. Chioma is Alyamide's daughter, Amara. There's no question. But there's more." He produced another document, a trust fund statement. Amara's eyes scanned the numbers, not comprehending at first. 5 million naira. 10 million. 15. This trust was established by my father 20 years ago for all his grandchildren. It includes provisions for education, housing, healthcare, everything. When each grandchild is acknowledged, they receive access to it on their 18th birthday. But there's a clause: if a grandchild is discovered and proven through DNA, they receive a lump sum immediately upon verification, 200 million naira. The room spun. 200 million. Alyamide doesn't know Chioma exists. He thinks you terminated the pregnancy. That's what he told our father before he fled to London to escape the mess he'd created. But if we establish paternity, Chioma becomes an Adebayo heir. She receives the trust, legal recognition, inheritance rights, everything he tried to deny her. Amara's chest tightened with a fury she hadn't felt in years. So this is about money? About claiming what he stole from her. This is about justice, Chukwuemeka corrected quietly. But also about something else. Senator Hassan's daughter, Zainab, she doesn't know about you. About Chioma. Alyamide has hidden his past from her and her family. The senator is conservative, traditional. If he discovered Alyamide abandoned a child. Understanding crashed over Amara like a wave. The wedding would be called off. More than that. The senator's support is crucial to Alyamide's business deals. He's been building his own real estate empire in London, but needs Nigerian political connections to expand. Without Hassan's backing, he loses everything. Chukwuemeka paused. I'm offering you a choice, Amara. We can do a paternity test, establish Chioma's rights, claim her inheritance, but quietly, without destroying Olayimide's wedding. Or, her voice was barely a whisper. Or we reveal everything. Publicly. At the wedding. We expose what he did to you, prove Chioma is his daughter, and let him face the consequences of his actions 7 years ago. Revenge. Sweet, terrible revenge, laid out before her like a feast. Amara thought of the humiliation last night, of Chioma asking why she had no father, of 7 years of struggle and shame. Why are you doing this? She asked. Why do you care? Chukwuemeka's expression grew distant. Because when I was 12, my mother left my father. She was from a poor family, and my father's family never accepted her. When she got pregnant with me, they pressured him to abandon her, to deny I was his. He refused. He loved her, loved me. But he suffered for that choice. I grew up watching him fight for us against a world that wanted to erase our existence. His eyes met hers. I won't let Olayimide do to Chioma what others tried to do to me. Tears burned Amara's eyes. For 7 years, she'd been alone in this fight. Now suddenly, someone stood beside her. Someone with power, resources, and a desire for justice. I need to think. The office door burst open. Amara jumped as a woman stormed in. Tall, elegant, dripping with gold jewelry, her expression thunderous. Chukwuemeka! The woman barked. I've been calling you all morning. We need to discuss the wedding arrangements. She stopped, eyes landing on Amara. Who is this? Chukwuemeka stood smoothly. Mrs. Hassan, this is. I know who she is. Mrs. Hassan's voice turned icy. I was at the wedding last night. I heard the accusations. This is the woman who's been spreading lies about my future son-in-law. Amara's blood ran cold. Senator Hassan's wife. Here. Now. Mrs. Hassan advanced, her presence filling the room. Let me make something very clear, Miss Okafor. My daughter is marrying into the Adebayo family in 3 weeks. I won't allow some desperate single mother with a fabricated story to ruin that. If you think you can extort money or attention by claiming that child is Olayimide's. It's not a claim, Amara said quietly, finding her voice. It's the truth. Prove it. Mrs. Hassan's challenge rang through the office. Chukwuemeka stepped between them. Mrs. Hassan, this is a private matter. Nothing about my family is private when it involves scandal. She turned to Amara, her eyes like daggers. You want to play this game? Fine. But understand this. My husband is one of the most powerful men in Nigeria. One word from him, and you'll lose your home, your business, any hope of a future. We will destroy you so thoroughly that no one will remember your name. You can't threaten her, Chukwuemeka said coldly. I'm not threatening. I'm promising. Mrs. Hassan smiled. Cruel and confident. Miss Okafor. I'm a reasonable woman. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take your daughter and disappear. Again. I'll arrange a transfer to Ghana. A nice sum, enough to start over. In exchange, you never contact the Adebayo family again. You never speak Olayimide's name. You let my daughter have her wedding, her future, without your shadow hanging over it. Amara felt the weight of history repeating itself, the powerful crushing the powerless, shame and silence enforced through threats and money. But something had shifted. She wasn't the frightened 22-year-old anymore. She was a mother who'd survived 7 years of judgment and struggle. She'd built a life from ashes. And she wasn't going to run again. No, Amara said firmly. I won't disappear. Not this time. Mrs. Hassan's eyes narrowed dangerously. Then you've just made the biggest mistake of your life. She swept from the office, leaving a wake of expensive perfume and palpable menace. The door slammed shut. Chukwuemeka turned to Amara, respect and concern warring in his expression. You realize what you've just started? A war I should have fought 7 years ago. Amara stood, her hands no longer shaking. Do the paternity test. Establish Chioma's rights. And then. She paused, something fierce and protective blazing in her chest. Then we expose everything. Are you sure? The Hassan family is powerful. They'll come after you with everything they have. Let them come. Amara's voice was steel wrapped in silk. For 7 years, I've hidden in shame over something that was never my fault. My daughter deserves to know her father, to claim her inheritance, to have the truth. And Zainab Hassan deserves to know exactly who she's marrying. Chukwemeka studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Then we fight together. But Amara, once we start this, there's no going back. Are you prepared for the cost? She thought of Chioma, sleeping peacefully last night, unaware of the storm gathering around them. She thought of all the women who'd been silenced, shamed, erased by powerful men and their enablers. I'm prepared, she said, for whatever comes. But as she left the Adebayo Tower, descending back into the chaos of Lagos, Amara's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You should have taken the deal. Now you'll learn what happens to women who don't know their place. Check your daughter's school. Immediately. Amara's heart stopped. Chioma. She dialed Mama Ekpo frantically. Amara. The older woman's voice was strained. I was just about to call you. A man came by asking questions about Chioma, about her father, about you. I didn't tell him anything, but he was insistent. Frightening. He left just minutes ago. Ice flooded Amara's veins. They were already making moves. Already threatening the one thing that mattered most. She ran toward the street, desperate to flag a taxi, her mind racing with terror. How far would the Hassan family go? What had she just unleashed? And as she fought through Lagos traffic, one horrifying thought crystallized. In fighting for justice, had she just put her daughter in danger? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who loves emotional drama. What do you think happens next? Comment below. Amara burst through Mama Ekpo's door, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Chioma! Mama! Her daughter looked up from the floor where she'd been drawing, confusion and alarm spreading across her small face at her mother's wild entrance. What's wrong? Relief crashed over Amara so powerfully her knees nearly buckled. She swept Chioma into her arms, holding her so tightly the child squirmed. Mama, I can't breathe. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. Amara loosened her grip but didn't let go, breathing in the coconut scent of Chioma's hair, confirming she was real, safe, here. Mama Ekpo watched from her kitchen doorway, worry etched deep in the lines of her face. Amara, what's happening? That man who came, he said he was from your daughter's school, asking about emergency contacts. But something about him felt wrong. Cold. Did he give a name? What did he look like? Tall, light-skinned, expensive suit. Spoke like someone used to being obeyed. He had a scar here. Mama Ekpo touched her left eyebrow. Small, but noticeable. Amara's blood chilled. She knew that description. Festus Okonkwo, Senator Hassan's head of security. A man with a reputation for making problems disappear. Her phone rang. Chukwemeka. Don't say anything, she told Mama Ekpo quietly. I'll explain later. She stepped into the hallway, answering the call. They already came. They're threatening Chioma. I know. Mrs. Hassan called me 10 minutes ago, making sure I understood the message. His voice was tight with anger. She wanted me to know what would happen if we proceed. Amara, I won't judge you if you want to stop. If you want to take their money and disappear. Protecting your daughter comes first. Amara leaned against the wall, feeling the weight of an impossible choice pressing down. Justice or safety? Truth or survival? The same choice women had been forced to make since the beginning of time. What would you do? She asked. If Chioma was yours? Silence stretched between them. Then, I'd burn their empire to the ground. But I'm not a mother. I don't carry that particular burden. No, Amara said slowly. But you carry your own. You told me about your mother, about your father fighting for you. What would you want me to teach Chioma? To hide when threatened? To let powerful people silence her truth. I'd want you to keep her safe. At any cost. Even if that safety is built on shame? On lies? On teaching her that justice only exists for those with money and power. Another pause. When Chukwemeka spoke again, his voice was different. Softer, more vulnerable. My mother used to tell me a Yoruba proverb. The child who says his mother will not sleep, he too will not sleep. If you fight this fight, none of us will have peace. Not you, not me, not Chioma. Are you truly ready for that? Before Amara could answer, she heard raised voices from inside Mama Ekpo's apartment. She rushed back in to find her cousin Ngozi standing in the doorway, her expression a mixture of triumph and malice. So this is where you're hiding, Ngozi said, pushing past Mama Ekpo. The whole family has been looking for you. After your little stunt last night, disappearing with that billionaire, do you know what people are saying? I don't care what people are saying. Amara positioned herself between Ngozi and Chioma. You should care. Aunt Chinyu is furious. Uncle Emeka is talking about formally disowning you from the family. They want you at a meeting tomorrow, to explain yourself, to apologize, to beg for forgiveness. I have nothing to apologize for. Ngozi's eyes glittered with vindictive satisfaction. Still so proud. Still so stubborn. You know, I did everyone a favor exposing you last night. Someone had to tell the truth about what you really are. And what am I, Ngozi? Amara's voice was deadly quiet. Say it. In front of my daughter. Say exactly what you think I am. Ngozi's gaze flickered to Chioma, who watched with wide, frightened eyes, and something almost like shame crossed her face. Almost. You're a liar. A deceiver. You brought shame to our family. No. Amara stepped forward, and Ngozi actually moved back. I was a young woman who fell in love with the wrong man. Who was used and discarded. Who survived when everyone, including you, including our family, turned their backs on me. I built a life for my daughter with nothing but my own 2 hands. I worked, I struggled, I sacrificed. And you call that shameful? You got pregnant out of wedlock. I got pregnant by a man who promised to marry me. A man who lied to me, abandoned me, destroyed my reputation to protect himself. Why is his behavior my shame to carry? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Ngozi had no answer, her mouth opening and closing uselessly. Mama Ekpo stepped forward, her voice carrying the authority of age and experience. Ngozi Okafor, I've known you since you were a child. I've watched you grow into a bitter woman who finds pleasure in others' pain. Let me tell you something. Exposure and truth are not the same thing. What you did last night was expose Amara's past. But the truth, the real truth, is that she's worth 10 of you. Now get out of my home. Ngozi's face twisted with rage. You'll regret this. All of you. When the family cuts her off completely, when no one will speak to her, when she has nowhere left to turn, you'll see I was right. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Chioma began to cry, soft hiccuping sobs that broke Amara's heart. She gathered her daughter close, rocking her gently. It's okay, baby. It's okay. But Mama Ekpo's expression was grave. Amara, what is really happening? This isn't just about family gossip anymore. That man who came asking questions, your cousin's rage, that phone call, you're in danger. Both of you. Amara met the older woman's eyes and made a decision. Chioma, go to the bedroom and watch cartoons for a few minutes, okay? Mama needs to talk with Mama Ekpo. Once her daughter was safely behind a closed door, Amara told Mama Ekpo everything. The truth about Alyamide, about the pregnancy, about the meeting with Chukwemeka, about Chioma's inheritance, and about the Hassan family's threats. Mama Ekpo listened without interruption, her expression growing more serious with each revelation. When Amara finished, the older woman was silent for a long moment, processing the magnitude of what she'd heard. You're planning to fight them, she said finally. The Hassan family. One of the most powerful families in Nigeria. I don't know if I'm planning it or if it's already begun. But yes, I think I am. They'll destroy you. They have the resources, the connections, the ruthlessness. I know. And Chukwemeka Adebayo, you trust him? A man you barely know, who happens to be the brother of the man who hurt you. That was the question, wasn't it? Did she trust him? Could she trust anyone in this fight? I think. Amara chose her words carefully. I think he's a man who hates injustice because he's experienced it. I think he sees Chioma and remembers himself. And I think he wants to atone for his brother's sins, even though they're not his to atone for. That doesn't make him safe. No, Amara agreed. But it might make him an ally. Mama Ekpo stood, walking to her bedroom. She returned moments later with a small wooden box, worn smooth with age. From it, She withdrew a stack of Naira notes. At least 50,000, maybe more.
Mama Ekpo, I can't. You can and you will.
The older woman pressed the money into Amara's hands. I've been saving this for my granddaughter's school fees. But she's in England now, married, secure. You need this more than I do. For lawyers, for safety, for whatever comes. Tears stung Amara's eyes. I'll pay you back. Every kobo. You'll survive this, that's all I ask. You and that beautiful child. Mama Ekpo's voice cracked. I lost a daughter once. Amara. Years ago, to a man who convinced her to run away with him. Who abandoned her in a strange city. By the time I found her, it was too late. She'd taken her own life, unable to bear the shame and isolation. Her eyes glistened. When you moved into this building 7 years ago, pregnant and alone, I saw her in you. I swore I'd never let that happen again. So you fight your fight. And when you need shelter from the storm, you come here. Always. Amara couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. She simply embraced the older woman, feeling the strength of solidarity. Woman to woman, survivor to survivor. Her phone buzzed again. A message from Chukwemeka. We need to move quickly. I've arranged for a DNA test tomorrow morning at a private clinic. After that, we file the legal paperwork establishing Chioma's paternity and inheritance rights. Once it's filed, it becomes public record. There's no hiding it. This is your last chance to change your mind. Amara typed back with steady fingers. I'm not changing my mind. Send me the clinic details. The response was immediate. I'm also arranging security. For you and Chioma. Someone will be stationed outside your building starting tonight. Is that necessary? The Hassan family doesn't make empty threats. If we're doing this, we do it right. Protected. Prepared. Amara looked toward the bedroom door, behind which her daughter hummed along to a cartoon theme song, innocent and unaware of the war being waged around her. Mama Ekpo, she said quietly, can Chioma stay with you tomorrow morning?
Just for a few hours.
Of course. But Amara, after this DNA test, after you file those papers, there's no going back. You understand that?
I understand.
But as night fell over Lagos and Amara carried a sleepy Chioma back to their own apartment, past the new security guard Chukwemeka had indeed posted outside. A silent, watchful presence. She wondered if she truly understood anything at all. The cost of truth was proving higher than she'd imagined. Her family was turning against her. Powerful enemies were circling. The life she'd carefully built was cracking apart. Yet when she tucked Chioma into bed and her daughter whispered, Mama, why was everyone so angry today? Amara knew she had no choice but to continue. Sometimes, baby, people get angry when you tell the truth. But that doesn't make the truth wrong.
Will you always tell me the truth?
Chioma's eyes were so trusting, so full of faith in her mother's goodness. Always, Amara promised, praying it was a promise she could keep. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in the darkness, listening to Chioma's soft breathing, and thought about the DNA test scheduled for tomorrow. Once that test was done, once paternity was established, the bomb would drop. Al Yamid would know. The Hassan family would react. And Amara's life, fragile as it was, would change forever. Her phone lit up at 2 a.m. with an email. No sender name, just a video attachment and a message. Last warning.
Watch this and reconsider.
Amara's hands shook as she opened the video. It showed Chioma's school, footage from earlier today. Her daughter on the playground, laughing with friends, completely unaware of the man filming her from across the street. The same man who'd come to Mama Ekpo's apartment. The video zoomed in on Chioma's face, then cut to black. Text appeared. Beautiful child. Would be a shame if something happened to her. You have 24 hours to leave Lagos. Don't test us. Amara dropped the phone as if it had burned her. They were watching Chioma. Filming her. Threatening her with something worse than just words. She wanted to scream, to cry, to run. To grab her daughter and disappear into the night as she'd done 7 years ago. Instead, she picked up the phone and forwarded the video to Chukwemeka. Her message simple. They just made this personal. Whatever happens tomorrow, we don't stop. His reply came instantly. I'm on my way. Pack a bag. You and Chioma are staying in a safe location until this is over. Amara looked at her sleeping daughter one more time, then began packing their essentials. The Hassan family had made a critical mistake. They thought threatening a mother's child would make her weak. They were about to learn that nothing on earth was more dangerous than a mother fighting to protect her young. Comment your thoughts on her decision below. What do you think happens next? The safe house was a modest 2-bedroom apartment in Lekki, tucked away in a gated compound with 24-hour security. Chukwuemeka had arranged it within an hour of receiving Amara's message, moving with an efficiency that spoke of experience with dangerous situations. This is a friend's property, he explained as he helped carry their bags inside at 4 a.m. He's abroad for 6 months.
No one knows you're here except me, my head of security, and now you.
Chioma slept through the transfer, exhausted from the day's turmoil. Amara tucked her into the larger bedroom, then returned to find Chukwuemeka in the living room, on his phone, his expression dark. The video they sent you, he said quietly. My security team traced the IP address. It came from a location registered to Festus Okonkwo, Senator Hassan's man. They're not even trying to hide their threats anymore. Because they don't think I'll fight back. They think I'll fold like I did 7 years ago. Amara's voice was harder than she'd ever heard it.
They're wrong.
Chukwuemeka studied her for a long moment. You've changed. 7 years ago you were gentle, hopeful. Now I'm a mother. There's nothing gentle about protecting your child. He nodded slowly, respect evident in his eyes. The DNA test is scheduled for 9 a.m. at a private clinic in Victoria Island. I've arranged for discreet transport and security. Once we have the results, which will expedite for tomorrow afternoon, we file the legal documents establishing paternity. After that,
the war truly begins.
Are you ready for what that means? The Hassan family will retaliate. Al-Yamid will deny everything initially. The media will crucify you. Single mother trying to trap a wealthy man, they'll say. Your family will be pressured to denounce you completely. Every detail of your past 7 years will be examined, criticized, weaponized against you. Amara thought of Chioma sleeping in the next room, of the video showing her daughter being stalked, of 7 years of hiding and shame. I'm ready, she said. But I need to understand something. Why are you really doing this? You've already said you and Al-Yamid haven't spoken in years. This could damage your business relationships, your social standing. The Hassan family's political connections could make your life very difficult. So why risk it all for me? For Chioma. Chukwuemeka was silent for so long Amara thought he wouldn't answer. Then he stood and walked to the window overlooking the compound, his back to her. When I was 16, he began quietly, my father had a business partner, a man named Chief Oladil. They'd built their company together from nothing. 2 ambitious young men with dreams bigger than their circumstances. My father trusted him completely. He paused, his reflection in the window showing pain that had aged into scar tissue. Chief Oladil had a daughter, Folake. She was brilliant, beautiful, and kind.
She fell in love with Al-Yamid. He was 20 then, charming as ever.
They dated for 2 years. She got pregnant. And when she told Al-Yamid, he did exactly what he did to you. He denied the relationship, claimed she was lying, trying to trap him. But it was worse because our families were entwined. The scandal destroyed the business partnership. My father tried to make Al-Yamid take responsibility, but my stepmother, Al-Yamid's mother, protected him, created alibis, bought off witnesses who'd seen them together. Amara's chest tightened. What happened to Folake? She had the baby, a son. But the shame, the isolation, the betrayal by someone she'd loved. She spiraled into depression. When the child was 6 months old, she killed herself. Jumped from the 3rd floor of her family's home. His voice cracked. I found her. I was the one who called the ambulance, who held Chief Oladil as he screamed and cried. I was the one who watched Al-Yamid at her funeral, looking bored, checking his watch. Chukwuemeka. Amara breathed, horror and understanding washing over her. The baby, Folake's son, was raised by Chief Oladil. He's 13 now, a good kid. I've been financially supporting them since I took over the company. But money doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't bring back Folake. He turned to face Amara, and his eyes glistened with unshed tears. When I recognized you yesterday at that wedding, when I heard your cousin exposing you, I saw Folake all over again. Another brilliant woman destroyed by my brother's selfishness. Another child growing up without justice. I swore after Folake died that if Olyamide ever did this again, I wouldn't look away. I wouldn't let him escape consequences. Amara felt tears streaming down her own face. I'm so sorry. For Folake, for her son, for what your family went through. Don't apologize. Fight. Live. Show Chioma that women don't have to accept being discarded like trash. That's how we honor Folake's memory. He wiped his eyes roughly. So yes, this is personal for me too. Olyamide has spent his entire life facing no consequences. That ends now. A sound from the bedroom. Chioma calling out in her sleep. Amara went to her, soothing her daughter back to peaceful rest, then returned to find Chukwuemeka had composed himself, back to the controlled, powerful CEO persona he wore like armor. Get some sleep, he said. Tomorrow is going to be difficult. I'll be on the couch if you need anything. You're staying here? Until we resolve this, yes. The Hassan family's threats are real. Amara. I won't leave you unprotected. There was something in the way he said it, protective but not possessive, caring but not presumptuous, that made Amara's carefully guarded heart crack open just slightly. For 7 years, she'd fought alone. Having someone stand beside her felt both terrifying and like coming home. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. He simply nodded, and they retreated to their separate spaces as Lagos began to wake outside, the city stretching and yawning into another day of chaos and beauty. The DNA test took less than 30 minutes. The clinic was pristine, discreet, and efficient. Chioma thought it was an adventure, delighted by the treasure hunt Amara had framed it as, unaware of the swab being taken that would change her life forever. Results by 3 p.m., the doctor confirmed as they left. Expedited processing, as requested. They returned to the safe house without incident, but Amara's phone exploded with messages throughout the day. Her aunt, her uncle, cousins she hadn't spoken to in years, all demanding she attend a family meeting that evening, all threatening various forms of exile and punishment if she refused. They're being pressured, Chukwuemeka observed, reading over her shoulder. The Hassan family is using your own family as weapons against you. Should I go? Try to explain. They won't listen. Not yet. Not until the truth is undeniable. His phone buzzed. But speaking of truth, the results are ready. Earlier than expected. Amara's heart hammered as Chukwuemeka pulled up the secure email on his laptop. There it was, clinical and definitive. Probability of paternity. 99.98%. Olyamide Adebayo is confirmed to be the biological father of Chioma Okafor. 7 years of wondering, of doubt, of being called a liar, validated in one simple percentage. Amara's knees went weak. Chukwuemeka steadied her, his hand on her elbow. It's done, he said quietly. The truth is documented. Now we move forward. Are you ready? She thought of Folake, of all the women who'd been silenced, of Chioma playing with dolls in the next room, deserving better than lies and shame. File the papers, Amara said firmly. All of them. Paternity, inheritance rights, everything. Today. Chukwuemeka made the call to his lawyers. Within the hour, legal documents were being filed in Lagos courts. Public records that would send shockwaves through the city's elite social circles. They waited. 3 hours. 4. And then, just as the sun began to set, Chukwuemeka's phone rang. An unknown number. He answered on speaker. Chukwuemeka Adebayo. You just made a grave mistake. The voice was cold, authoritative, unmistakably Senator Hassan himself. I'm looking at court documents that claim my future son-in-law has a 7-year-old daughter. Documents filed by you, accompanied by DNA evidence. Documents that contain only verified truth, Senator. Truth. The senator laughed. Bitter and sharp. The truth is that you've just declared war on my family. Do you understand what that means? I have the power to destroy your company, your reputation, your future. One call to the banking commission, and your credit lines freeze. One word to my colleagues in government, and your business licenses are under review. One whisper in the right ears, and every contract you have evaporates. Is that a threat, Senator? It's a promise. You have until midnight tonight to withdraw those filings. Claim it was an error, a misunderstanding. Make it go away. Or I will make you go away.
I won't withdraw the truth.
Then you'll learn what happens to people who challenge me. The line went dead. Amara felt ice in her veins. He's going to destroy you.
Because of me. Because of Chioma. He's going to try.
Chukwuemeka's expression was grim but determined. I knew the cost when I helped you file those papers.
I'm not afraid of Senator Hassan.
Maybe you should be. But before Chukwuemeka could respond, there was a knock at the door. Sharp, insistent, official. They froze. No one should know they were here. No one except security, Chukwuemeka breathed, reaching for his phone to call his guard stationed downstairs. The knock came again. Harder. A voice called out. Police! Open up. We have a warrant. Amara's blood turned to ice. Police? For what? Chukwuemeka was already pulling up security camera feeds on his phone. Outside the door stood 4 police officers in uniform, and behind them, a familiar face. Festus Okonkwo, Senator Hassan's head of security, wearing a satisfied smirk. This is a trap, Chukwuemeka said urgently. They're coming after you directly. Amara, take Chioma and go out the back entrance. Nah. My car is parked in the rear lot. He tossed her his keys. What about you? I'll handle the police. Go. The pounding on the door intensified. We know you're in there.
Open up or we'll force entry.
Amara ran to the bedroom, scooping up a confused Chioma. Baby, we're playing another adventure game, okay?
We need to be very, very quiet. Like hide and seek?
Chioma whispered, picking up on her mother's urgency. Exactly like hide and seek. Behind them, the front door burst open with a crash of splintering wood. Chukwuemeka's raised voice. What is the meaning of this? I'm a lawyer present. What are the charges?
Kidnapping, came the cold reply from one of the officers.
We have reports that you've abducted a child, one Chioma Okafor, from her legal guardian.
I'm her mother.
Amara heard herself shout from the bedroom doorway.
Are you?
The officer who spoke stepped forward, and Amara recognized him. Inspector Adeyemi, notoriously corrupt, known for being on the Hassan family's payroll. We have documentation here stating that custody of the child was granted to Chinua Okafor, her grandmother, due to concerns about the mother's mental stability and moral fitness. You violated a custody order, Miss Okafor.
That's kidnapping.
That's insane. There is no custody order. I'm her only guardian. But Inspector Adeyemi held up official-looking papers, complete with stamps and signatures Amara knew were forgeries. But how could she prove it? You'll both need to come with us, Adeyemi said. The child will be remanded to her legal guardian pending investigation. Over my dead body, Amara snarled, pulling Chioma behind her. That can be arranged, Festus Okonkwo said from the doorway, his scar catching the light as he smiled. Chukwuemeka positioned himself between the police and Amara. I'm calling my lawyer. You're not taking them anywhere until legal representation is present. This is clearly harassment, and those documents are fraudulent. Obstruction of justice, Adeyemi interrupted. Add that to your charges, Mr. Adebayo. Now step aside. The officers advanced. Chukwuemeka didn't move. For one terrible moment, Amara thought violence would erupt right there in the safe house, with Chioma watching, terrified. Then Chukwuemeka's phone rang. A video call. He answered it, and Senator Hassan's face filled the screen. Mr. Adebayo. Miss Okafor. I did warn you, the senator said pleasantly. You filed those papers. Now you face the consequences. Amara Okafor will be charged with kidnapping her own child and with making false claims about an upstanding citizen. You, Mr. Adebayo, will be charged as an accomplice. And little Chioma. His smile was cruel. Well, she'll be cared for by family who understand the importance of discretion and obedience. You can't do this, Amara whispered, clutching Chioma so tightly her daughter whimpered. I already have. But here's the beautiful part. I'm a reasonable man. Drop all legal claims against Alyamide. Withdraw the paternity filing. Admit publicly that you fabricated the DNA results. Do this and the charges disappear. You get your daughter back. Everyone walks away.
And if we refuse?
Chukwuemeka asked coldly. Then Amara goes to prison for kidnapping. You lose your company fighting legal battles you can't win.
And Chioma.
Senator Hassan paused for effect. Chioma grows up knowing her mother chose pride over her safety. Choose wisely. You have 60 seconds. The screen went black, leaving them staring at their own desperate reflections. Inspector Adeyemi checked his watch. 50 seconds. Amara looked at Chukwuemeka, at the officers closing in, at Chioma trembling in her arms. Everything she'd fought for, justice, truth, redemption, was about to be torn away. She could surrender, protect Chioma from the immediate threat, but condemn them both to a life of lies and shame. Or she could fight, risk everything, possibly lose her daughter entirely.
30 seconds.
Chukwuemeka, she whispered.
What do we do?
He met her eyes, and in them she saw the same calculation, the same impossible choice. Then something shifted in his expression. Determination crystallizing into action. We fight, he said.
No matter what.
He pressed a button on his phone. Suddenly, the apartment speakers crackled to life, and Senator Hassan's voice from moments ago began playing on loop. I'm a reasonable man. Drop all legal claims. Admit publicly that you fabricated the DNA results.
Do this, and the charges disappear.
What? Inspector Adeyemi started. That's the senator instructing you to fabricate charges and coerce false confessions, Chukwuemeka said calmly. It's also being live-streamed right now to several media outlets, my entire legal team, and 3 federal investigators I happen to know who've been looking for evidence of the senator's corruption. Congratulations, Inspector. You're all complicit in extortion, false arrest, and conspiracy. Festus Okonkwo's smug expression evaporated. Inspector Adeyemi went pale. The other officers looked at each other in panic. You're bluffing, Okonkwo snarled.
Am I?
Chukwuemeka held up his phone, showing active calls to multiple numbers. Make your move. Inspector. Arrest us. But know that everything happening here is being documented and witnessed by people you cannot threaten or buy. For a long, tense moment, no one moved. Then Inspector Adeyemi's phone rang. He answered it, his face going from pale to gray as he listened. Yes, sir. I understand, sir. Yes. Immediately. He ended the call and looked at his officers. We're leaving.
Now. But the senator said. Okonkwo began.
The commissioner of police just ordered us to stand down. Someone leaked the recording to the media. It's already trending on social media. If we proceed with this arrest, we're the ones going to prison. Adeyemi's voice was hollow. The senator's protection won't save us from a federal investigation. They retreated like roaches exposed to light, Festus Okonkwo shooting one last venomous look at Amara and Chukwuemeka before the door closed behind them. Silence descended. Chioma began to cry, finally releasing the terror she'd been holding in. Amara sank to the floor, holding her daughter, her own tears flowing freely. How? She gasped to Chukwuemeka. How did you have it streaming? How did you know? He knelt beside them, his hand gentle on Chioma's back. I've been recording every conversation, every call, every threat since this began. I've learned the hard way that men like Senator Hassan only respect one thing. Exposure. They can threaten in darkness, but they crumble when dragged into light. The media has the recording? By now, every news outlet in Lagos. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's spreading like wildfire. Senator Hassan's corruption, his threats, his admission of fabricating charges, it's all public record now. Amara felt dizzy with relief and terror mingled together. They'd survived the immediate threat, but what came next? An exposed, humiliated, powerful senator with nothing left to lose? Chukwuemeka seemed to read her thoughts. This isn't over. He'll retaliate, but differently now. No more legal games. He can't risk more evidence of corruption. But Amara. He met her eyes seriously. He'll come after your reputation instead. Everything about your past, your life, your choices. It's all about to be dissected in public. Are you ready for that? She thought of Folake, who hadn't survived the public shaming. She thought of all the women who'd been crushed by scandal. Then she looked at Chioma, still crying but safe in her arms. I'm ready, Amara said. Because this time, I won't be alone. This time I have proof. And this time, the truth is on our side. Chukwuemeka smiled, Tired but genuine. Then we see this through. Together. But as they secured the apartment and tried to calm Chioma, Amara's phone exploded with notifications. The story was trending. #billionaire scandal, #single mother justice, #Hassan corruption. And among the thousands of messages, one stood out. From an unknown number. You've won a battle, not the war. Enjoy your moment of glory. Tomorrow the world learns everything about you. Every mistake, every secret. By the time I'm done, you'll beg me to take Chioma away just to end your humiliation. Alyamide. The brother who destroyed her life 7 years ago was finally about to face her directly. And he was promising to burn her life to ashes. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. What do you think Alyamide will reveal? Comment below. The morning sun cast golden light across Lagos, but inside the television studio, Amara felt only cold under the harsh professional lights. She sat in the guest chair of Nigeria's most-watched morning show, The People's Voice, facing host Chidinma Nwosu, a woman known for her tough questions and refusal to let her guest hide behind prepared statements. It had been 3 days since Senator Hassan's corruption recording went viral. 3 days of chaos, revelation, and battle. And now, Alyamide had demanded his own platform to set the record straight. He sat across from Amara on the other side of Chidinma's desk, looking impeccable in a charcoal suit, his expression a carefully crafted mixture of wounded dignity and righteous indignation. This was the man who destroyed her life, abandoned their child, and felt nothing. Now he would perform innocence for millions of viewers. Chukwuemeka sat in the green room, watching the live feed, ready to intervene if needed. But this confrontation was Amara's to face. She'd insisted on it. Thank you both for agreeing to this conversation, Chidinma began, her intelligent eyes missing nothing. Mr. Adebayo, you requested this interview to respond to allegations that you fathered a child with Miss Okafor 7 years ago and subsequently abandoned her. The DNA results filed in court show 99.98% probability of paternity. How do you explain that? Alyamide's smile was smooth, practiced. Chidinma, I appreciate the opportunity to address these false accusations. 7 years ago, I did know Miss Okafor. She worked at my brother's company, and yes, we had a brief, casual relationship. But when it ended, amicably, I believed, I moved to London for business opportunities. I had no knowledge of any pregnancy. That's a lie, Amara said quietly, her voice steady despite her hammering heart. Miss Okafor, Chidinma turned to her. You claim Mr. Adebayo not only knew about the pregnancy but actively forced you out of your job and destroyed your reputation. Can you provide evidence? This was the moment. Amara reached into her bag and withdrew a small USB drive. I can. Over the past 3 days, Mr. Adebayo has released carefully edited statements painting me as an opportunist. But I've spent those same 3 days working with Mr. Chukwuemeka Adebayo and his legal team, gathering evidence. On this drive are text messages, emails, and witness statements from 7 years ago. She handed it to Chidinma, who plugged it into her laptop. The studio's large screens flickered to life, showing text message exchanges. Alyamide, 7 years ago. You need to get rid of it. This is non-negotiable. Amara. We're engaged. I thought you loved me. Alyamide. Love? Don't be naive. You were convenient. Fun. But my family expects better. Handle this problem or I'll handle it for you. The studio audience gasped. Alyamide's confident expression cracked slightly. Those are fabricated, he said quickly. Anyone can fake text messages. These were retrieved from the phone company's archives through legal subpoena, Chidinma interrupted, reading from the documentation. They're verified as authentic. There's more, emails from your account to Amara's employer, claiming she'd been harassing you, demanding her termination. Statements from former colleagues who witnessed your relationship and your subsequent campaign to discredit her. The screens continue displaying evidence, receipts from restaurants where they'd dined, photographs of them together that Amara had saved, witness affidavits from people who'd seen Alyamide with her, who'd heard him making promises of marriage. You told her you loved her, Chidinma read from one statement. You introduced her to friends as your fiancée. You gave her a ring. And when she became pregnant, you not only abandoned her but systematically destroyed her ability to support herself. Why? Alyamide's mask was slipping, anger bleeding through the polished exterior. She was nobody. A receptionist from a poor family in Enugu. My mother would have been devastated if I'd married so far beneath my station. He stopped, realizing what he'd just admitted. The studio fell silent. So you're confirming the relationship was real? Chidinma pressed. That you did make promises? That you did know about the pregnancy? Alyamide looked trapped, his careful lies unraveling. You're twisting my words. I'm using your own words, Chidinma said coldly. Mr. Adebayo, you're getting married in 2 weeks to Senator Hassan's daughter. Does she know about Chioma? About what you did to Miss Okafor? My fiancé understands that I have a past. We've discussed it. That's interesting, Amara interrupted, her voice gaining strength. Because 3 hours ago, I received a call from Zainab Hassan herself. The revelation rippled through the studio like an electric current. Alyamide's face went white. Amara continued, looking directly at him now, no longer afraid. She called to tell me she'd watched the recordings of her father's corruption, had hired her own investigators, and had discovered the truth about us, about Chioma. She asked to meet me and your daughter. Not because she wants to fight, but because she wanted to know the truth before she married a man who could do what you did. You're lying, Alyamide started. Am I? Amara pulled out her phone, pulling up a recent text conversation. She's asked me to bring Chioma to meet her tomorrow. She wants to know her future stepdaughter, if the wedding proceeds. She said, and I quote, I won't marry a man who abandons his own child. If Alyamide can be the father Chioma deserves, if he can take responsibility and make amends, then perhaps we have a future. But I need to see that he's capable of growth and accountability. Alyamide stood abruptly, his composure completely shattered. This is a setup. You've manipulated everyone. My brother, the media, now Zainab. I've manipulated no one, Amara said, standing to face him. I've simply told the truth. The truth you tried to bury 7 years ago. The truth that kept surfacing no matter how hard you pushed it down. And now it's exposed for everyone to see. You want money, Alyamide spat. That's what this is really about. The inheritance, the trust fund, you're using that child as a meal ticket. Her name is Chioma. Amara's voice cracked like thunder. She's not that child. She's your daughter. She has your mother's eyes, your smile, your stubborn determination. She exists, Alyamide. And for 7 years, she's asked me where her father is, why he doesn't love her, if she did something wrong to make him leave. Tears streamed down Amara's face now, but her voice remained strong. Do you know what that does to a mother? To tell your child lies about a father being a hero who died, rather than admit the truth, that he looked at her as a problem to be eliminated? I protected you from her questions. I made you into a saint in her imagination so she wouldn't grow up knowing her father found her worthless. The studio was silent except for Amara's ragged breathing. Even Chidinma seemed moved, her professional detachment cracking. But I'm done protecting you, Amara continued. Chioma deserves better than lies. She deserves the inheritance legally owed to her. She deserves a father who takes responsibility. And if you can't be that father, then at least she deserves the truth, that your cowardice, not her worth, is why you weren't there. Alyamide opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. For the first time, he seemed to have no response, no clever deflection. Chidinma seized the moment. Mr. Adebayo, Miss Okafor has provided substantial evidence supporting her claims. The DNA test confirms paternity. Your own words, both from 7 years ago and today, confirm you knew about the pregnancy and chose to abandon your child. What do you have to say to Chioma? To your daughter? The question hung in the air like a sword suspended by a thread. The cameras captured every nuance of Alyamide's expression. The anger, the fear, the calculation. Finally he spoke, and his words would be replayed across Nigerian media for weeks. I don't know what you want me to say. I'm not equipped to be a father. I never wanted children. That's why I asked her to terminate the pregnancy. I thought it was handled. When I left for London, I assumed. You assumed wrong, Amara said softly. Chioma is real. She's brilliant and kind and funny. She dreams of being an architect. She sings in the church choir. She loves jollof rice and hates okra. She's a whole person, Alyamide. Not a problem that got mishandled. Something flickered across Alyamide's face then, regret, perhaps, or the shadow of shame. But it was fleeting, replaced quickly by defensive anger. "Fine," he said coldly. "You want acknowledgement? You have it. The DNA test is valid. She's my biological daughter. The trust fund is hers when she turns 18, as the legal documents specify. I'll fulfill my financial obligations as required by law."
"Is that sufficient?" "No," Amara said simply. "It's not. Because Chioma doesn't need your money. She needs your humanity. But if that's all you're capable of offering, then I'll take it and be grateful she'll know the truth. That her father couldn't love her, but at least he couldn't deny her existence anymore." Chidinma turned to the camera. "We've witnessed something extraordinary today. A public reckoning with truth, responsibility, and the cost of abandonment. Miss Okafor, you fought against powerful families, corruption, and social judgment to secure your daughter's rightful place in her father's family. What do you hope comes from this?" Amara took a deep breath, collecting herself. "I hope that other women in my situation, and there are thousands across Nigeria, will see that they don't have to accept shame for choices powerful men make. I hope that families will support their daughters instead of disowning them. I hope that men like Olyamide will think twice before treating women as disposable. And I hope—" Her voice softened. "I hope Chioma grows up knowing her mother fought for her. That she was always worth fighting for." The interview concluded, but its impact was immediate and seismic. Within hours, #Chioma Deserves Justice was trending #1. Women across Nigeria shared their own stories of abandonment, judgment, and survival. Public opinion shifted dramatically. Amara transformed from opportunistic single mother to courageous survivor in the span of one morning. Senator Hassan's political allies began distancing themselves from him. The federal investigation into his corruption was proceeding with renewed vigor. His daughter Zainab released a statement postponing her wedding indefinitely, citing the need to reassess her relationship with Olyamide in light of new information. And Amara's own family, the aunt and uncle who'd disowned her, the cousins who'd mocked her, began calling with apologies. Hesitant, inadequate apologies, but apologies nonetheless. 2 weeks later, Amara sat on a bench in Freedom Park, Lagos, watching Chioma play on the jungle gym with other children. The afternoon sun was gentle, the air filled with laughter and the smell of suya roasting nearby. "Mama, watch me,"
Chioma called, hanging upside down from the monkey bars, her braids swinging. "I'm watching, baby. Be careful." Footsteps approached. Amara looked up to find Chukwemeka, carrying 2 bottles of Coke and a warm smile. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. "Please." She accepted the Coke gratefully, the cold glass sweating in the Lagos heat. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching Chioma play. Then Chukwemeka spoke. "The trust fund transfer was finalized this morning. 200 million naira in Chioma's account, accessible in managed distributions for her education and welfare until she turns 18. You'll never have to worry about her schooling, her health, her future. It's all secured." "Thank you," Amara said quietly. "For everything.
None of this would have been possible without you.
You would have found a way."
You're the strongest person I've ever met."
Amara laughed, the sound still surprising her. Genuine happiness felt almost foreign after so many years of merely surviving. "I don't feel strong. I feel exhausted, relieved, and terrified of what comes next." "What does come next?" "I don't know. Rebuilding my design business, maybe. Chioma starts at a new school next term, one that won't judge her background. We'll visit my father in Enugu next month. He called yesterday, actually called, to say he was sorry. I don't know if we can repair 7 years of silence, but—" She trailed off, emotions tangling in her throat.
"But you're willing to try?"
"For Chioma. She deserves grandparents, family, roots. I won't let my pain deprive her of that." Chukwemeka nodded thoughtfully. "And what about you?
What do you deserve?"
The question caught Amara off guard. For 7 years, she'd thought only about survival, about Chioma's needs, about fighting battles. The idea of deserving anything for herself felt alien. "I deserve peace, I think," she said slowly. "And maybe the chance to build something new. Not just for Chioma, but for myself. A life not defined by shame or struggle."
"You deserve that and more."
Chukwemeka's voice was warm. "And when you're ready, No pressure, no expectations. I'd like to be part of that new life. As a friend, as support, as whatever you need. Amara looked at him, this man who'd risked everything to stand beside her when the world stood against her. There was something in his eyes. Not pity, not obligation, but genuine care. Maybe even affection. I'd like that, she said softly. But slowly. I need time to figure out who I am beyond survival mode. I'm patient, he replied with a smile. Chioma ran over then, breathless and glowing with joy. Mama. Mr. Chukwuemeka. I made a new friend. Her name is Adana and she's 7 like me and she loves drawing too. Can she come to our house sometime? Of course, baby, Amara said, pulling her daughter into a hug. Any friend of yours is welcome. As Chioma ran back to play, Amara watched her go. This child who'd been called shameful, this daughter who'd been denied, this little girl who'd been worth every moment of the fight. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Miss Okafor, this is Zainab Hassan. I wanted you to know I met with Al-Yamid yesterday. We had a long, difficult conversation about responsibility, about fatherhood, about change. He's agreed to attend counseling and to gradually build a relationship with Chioma, if you're open to it. It won't erase what he did, but perhaps it's a start. I've also broken our engagement. I can't marry a man who hasn't proven he can be the person he claims to want to become. Thank you for your courage. You saved me from making a terrible mistake. Zainab. Tears pricked Amara's eyes. Al-Yamid wanting to know Chioma, that was complicated, terrifying, hopeful. They'd navigate it carefully, with boundaries and counseling. But the possibility of Chioma knowing her father, of Al-Yamid facing his own failures and growing beyond them, that was more than Amara had ever dared hope for. Another message. This one from Mama Ekpo. Child, I'm so proud of you. Your apartment is ready. I cleaned it and added fresh flowers. Come home when you're ready. Your community is waiting for you. Not with judgment this time, but with respect. Love. Mama Ekpo. Home. She had a home. A community. A future that wasn't built on lies and fear. What are you thinking? Chukwuemeka asked gently. I'm thinking, Amara said, wiping her eyes and smiling through tears, that for 7 years, everyone mocked me for being a single mother. They called me shameful, desperate, a liar. But through all of it, I raised a brilliant, loving, resilient child. I built a life from nothing. I survived when the world wanted me to disappear. And in the end, the truth mattered more than their mockery. It did, Chukwuemeka agreed. And now, Amara looked at Chioma, laughing in the sunshine, free from the shadows that had haunted them both. Now we live. Fully, openly, without shame. We build the future we deserve. As the Lego sun began its descent, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Amara Okafor sat in Freedom Park with her daughter and a man who'd seen her worth when others saw only scandal. She thought of Folake, who hadn't survived her shame. She thought of all the women still fighting their own battles against judgment and abandonment. And she made a silent promise. She would use her voice, her story, her platform to help others find their way out of darkness. The fight wasn't over. Not for her, not for countless others. But today, in this moment, she allowed herself to simply breathe, to rest, to feel the warmth of victory after years of cold struggle. Mama! Chioma called again. Come play with us. Amara stood, brushing off her dress, and walked toward her daughter. Toward laughter, toward light, toward a future built on truth instead of lies, on strength instead of shame. Everyone had mocked her for being a single mother. But the billionaire CEO had seen a woman of courage and resilience. And in seeing her truly, he'd helped her see herself the same way. Some stories don't have neat endings, but they have new beginnings. And for Amara and Chioma, this was theirs. Thank you for watching. Everyone mocked her for being a single mother, but the billionaire CEO saw wife material. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below and tell us, what lesson did you take from Amara's journey? Remember, your past doesn't define your future. Your courage does. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories on K-Smart's Mythic Tales.